All right, we're rolling. What's up, Olivia?
I'm good. I'm good. And you?
Good. So you had a good morning so far, I'm guessing. Some ballet. That's what your go-to is.
Yep. I spent less time than usual. I think I spent around like 2 hours only this morning.
Only 2 hours.
Yeah. Well, it takes a lot of time to warm up and then get into it. But yeah, that's a lot less than like my normal routine.
Mhm. Have you always been doing ballet, or is that just your? No, sorry, so
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah. Well, I started dancing, or my mom put me into dance when I was 3, and then we kept moving countries all over the place. So then I stopped at, I think it was 7 or 8, and then I didn't take it up again until I was 14, which is very late for ballet if you want to go pro at any point. And then I had to like re-pick it up again at 17 because I was bad, which is understandable. And yeah, and I'm still dancing now.
Well, yeah, if you don't like do something consistently, like even now, I feel like it's easy to get off track and then kind of forget about the things that you started to do that like got you on track. So I guess starting the way I found out about your content was on Twitter. So can you just tell me how you started your Twitter and just your journey so far as like posting, like how it's been for you?
Yeah, so I started Twitter like a couple weeks ago because I had no idea how to use it, and I didn't really understand like why you would use Twitter. But yeah, so a couple weeks ago I thought, well, might as well use it because I've seen so many people find like a lot of information off of Twitter. So I just started posting. It was, I guess, a couple weeks after KetoCon, so I posted photos with Dr. Ken Berry and Dr. Sean Baker, and that got me a lot of traction really fast, which was cool. And then I also just thought, well, I'll post meat pictures because that's what I do. And those also did really well. Been posting a lot of ballet stuff and saying that I eat meat. And I've been getting a lot of hate from the vegans. So it's been pretty hilarious actually reading all that. Yeah, and they've even like gone over from my Twitter to my Instagram, and they've been commenting or like adding me on a lot of these animal cruelty posts, saying, you're doing all of this, but good for you because your skin is clear now. I'm like, okay, wow, you need to read more about me. It's not just like my skin is clear, that's it. No. So yeah.
So do you want to share your backstory on like your just health journey and how you got into eating more meat in general?
Sure. It's pretty long and extensive. But yeah, I'll just kind of briefly
That's what we
summarize.
got this whole podcast for. So.
Yeah. So in 2018, I was training with the best school in the country at the time in Uruguay in South America. It's small, so the level isn't quite as high as other countries or as I'm training now. That's why I had to restart at 17. But so I was at that school, and it was a government funded school, so I didn't pay anything. So it was very um, not clean. So I was basically living there because we were there that long, and it was covered in mold and all sorts of other things. It wasn't really cleaned well. So for about 3-ish years, I was exposed to all that black mold. So I ended up, of course, getting mold poisoning. So yeah, after a year, I started to feel a lot more of the symptoms. I got extreme fatigue as well as a lot of joint pain. It got to a point after around 2.5 years of studying there that I had to drop all of my classes and just stick with the absolute most basic technique class just to pass the exam because couldn't really physically do everything. I would just like bend backwards in one exercise and then feel like I was going to pass out because now coming to learn more, it was probably iron deficiency plus the mold poisoning plus a lot of things. Anyway, so in 2018 and towards the end of 2018, that's when everything started to get worse. So in December or January, I think it was January 2019, I got a blood test and I had really high cortisol levels, lymphocytes, I had heavy metals, so too much iron. And then, ironically, A year later, I got another blood test and I had anemia, so it was the absolute opposite. Anyways, so I had all of that going on, which obviously wasn't good. And that started to get worse and cause a lot of inflammation in my body. And then fast forward to 2020, I was on the coast of Croatia with my parents and I ate this piece of fish which didn't taste good. And the next day, my skin just like broke out as if it was like some huge allergic reaction. And I associate it to that piece of fish probably was covered in parasites because then I ended up having parasites. Parasites can cause skin issues. So for the rest of 2020 and all of 2021, that was like the worst time ever for me. I got severe depression. I had a lot of joint, especially lower back pain, which was really bad. I was sleeping probably like 4 hours every night because I don't know, I couldn't sleep. I was like wide awake but extremely tired and couldn't actually sleep. So I had all of that, and then finally in, I think it was November of 2021, I went to try out at this ballet company, and they didn't want me, understandably, because I was too big. And that kind of just lit the fire under my bottom to think, okay, I need to do something because obviously it's not like food intake because I wasn't eating a crazy diet like standard American diet. It was more like animal based, but with not too many sweets and things because I knew that that would make me bigger.
Mhm.
So finally, in January of 2022, I just went hardcore carnivore, and I found out about carnivore in 2018 actually. After going keto for 2 weeks, eventually my YouTube started to have Sean Baker pop up. So then found out about him, but it didn't initially really work because I didn't do enough research because I was too busy with ballet and high school. So I kind of wasn't eating enough fat and also way too many processed meats and dairy products, so it wasn't really working. Plus, I didn't know about the mold or parasites or radiation at that point. So
Mhm.
yeah, I retried carnivore and just cut my portion size in half and ate a lot of Jello to just lose 40 pounds in 2 months, which ended up working. But it wasn't until more recently, so that was in January of 2022 that I did that. But it wasn't until like 6 to 7-ish months ago that I started to realize, okay, there's a lot of actually health issues I have. It's not just fat being fat. It was, yeah, mold, parasites, and then radiation poisoning, heavy metals, and a bunch of other things. So yeah, that's basically my story up until now.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of similarities in the aspect of sleep. I know for me, like sleeping horribly for so many years throughout my puberty, like when you're supposed to be developing, it
Yeah.
definitely stunts a lot of the natural processes. And I was talking about this yesterday on the podcast I did, but it was mentioned how you don't just feel bad for like it's not just a random occurrence, but it's stuff that you're doing normally, diet, exercise, not enough of that, not enough good nutrients, not enough quality movement. So once you can get those in order, you start to feel a little bit better. So I don't know, I think just the whole diet aspect definitely plays a huge role. But for you, since you had all those parasites and stuff, it kind of lit the fire to get moving. Like me, like I was pretty overweight, and I was like, all right, I need to make a change. But you said that you didn't really do the keto thing the right way, just with like cutting your calories too low. So, how did you go from doing that where you were not consuming enough? And then now I see you like posting videos where you're eating like half a stick of butter. So, for like people that are like worried about calories, or I guess just tell me a little bit about how, like, what your current approach is to diet and eating.
Right. So I think if I went back in time to like restart going carnivore or going keto, I think the first thing, especially if you're trying to lose weight, is to just fix your relationship with food.
Mhm.
So that would be to find out when you're hungry, eat until you're full, and then stop. When you're not hungry and there's food and you're just bored, don't eat. Wait until you're hungry again and eat, and
Mhm.
and eat until you're full. So I think that would be better because that's what I do now. I kind of passively fast because when I wake up in the morning, I like to immediately start working out and I won't finish until like 10:30, 11. So then I'll eat a meal then, wait a bit because I'm full, and then eat again. But yeah, I don't really limit myself anymore because as it is, there's no carbs. So if I reduce my portion size excessively, obviously that's not healthy. That would disrupt my hormones, my thyroid, a lot of different things. Yeah.
So your diet consists of like mostly red meat. Do you eat any like chicken or fish at all?
Yeah, since the fish incident, I haven't been eating much fish. Also, I'm not really like if I know that fish is wild caught and from some lake or I've seen exactly where it's come from, I'll eat it. But now, just because I don't want it to have any heavy metals or any other form of like plastic products, I don't really eat it that often. But yeah, I'll eat like any form of animal product. If it has a mother, I'll eat it.
I know, yeah, with the wild caught versus the farmed fish.
Yeah.
I saw a video on just the like if you go to Trader Joe's, there'll be an option for the wild caught and versus like a farmed one. And like when it's farmed, even though it's like it could be like technically like in the wilds
Yeah.
or like sorry, I want to clarify. It can be like in the ocean and like caught, but if it's farmed, they all have like the heavy metals and those are then leaching into the food and then you're eating it. So is that how you think you got the heavy metals or just from like that fish or just in general your diet and then once you were able to clean that up, that's how you were able to get rid of them or was there any other process to like detoxify from heavy metals? Because I feel like a lot of people don't know if they have heavy metals or yeah, just like and without a test, you know.
Yeah, I don't always rely on tests. Sometimes they come back positive, sometimes they don't, and it can be like either way. But yeah, probably some heavy metals from fish and food. I don't know if you've seen this was from a while ago though. There was this video where someone took a magnet and a box of cereal and then they put the magnet under and all these metals came out of the cereal. So there's probably a lot of people with heavy metals in them just based off of food because
Mhm.
of that. But originally, for me, the heavy metal poisoning came from we were living on an off grid farm for like 5 or 6 years when I was younger. And we had a well, and the soil where we were was really rich in iron. And I was the only stupid one to not filter the water. So I would just drink the water straight, and it was way too much iron. So
Yeah.
that was, yeah.
I mean, I feel like most people don't even like think about that though. They just think about like
Mm,
calories and stuff.
yeah.
So how did you do that? Just like was it strictly off like informing yourself online or how did you get to realize like more aspects of your health than just what you're eating, but like all these different like I don't know, toxic chemicals, you know?
Yeah. Wait, so you mean like how did I realize that I had all these things that were actually like the underlying issues or
I guess more my question is like how did you get the information to know that this could be a possibility, like affecting your skin in general and
yeah,
like the way you feel?
yeah, I started listening a lot to Michaela Peterson, and then that got me to Judy Cho, who is a doctor in Austin, actually, and she does a lot of SIRS protocols. So, SIRS is just like an inflammatory response in your body based off of some form of root cause. So, let's say if you had mold, your body just blows up in size because it's inflamed because of that. So, that's what I think I ended up having, but I never tested myself on it. So, that's how I got to that. A lot of it was just searching for videos on YouTube, like causes for acne, and then I got into a lot of, like I was telling you, metaphysical causes, and then that brought me to this website, which is some alternative therapy, but I don't really understand how it works because it doesn't actually give you a like conclusive end result of what to do. It just kind of tells you this is what happened, and then they don't really help you after that. And that was called German New Medicine. Maybe it was just my research. I don't know. But yeah, so that's how I got to that. And then I just started looking up, like, based off the metaphysical reasons. what are the different symptoms that come from that, and then how can you get those symptoms, and then that's kind of how I got to everything.
I think too with the carnivore diet in general, it's just a way like the elimination diet they call it, but you kind of realize what is the root causes or like the foods that are causing you to have like the negative like adverse reactions. So even if you aren't going to go full blown carnivore for the rest of your life, because I know you said you've implemented some like berries and like stuff like that. That's maybe not on the carnivore diet, but you might want to start with carnivore if you're trying to change your diet just as a way to feel a little bit better, like right in the right, like from the start, but then also add back and be like, oh, these actually do work for me. So I think that's the way with the carnivore for sure.
Yeah, I think like yeah, either like a elimination diet where you reduce anything and everything that could be harmful except for a couple things. There's this place in Hungary called Paleo Medicina, and they have a list of like I guess like safe vegetables. I don't know. I
Mhm.
haven't done that, but I guess it would be like a paleo diet, but more restricted. But yeah, I think going carnivore for a short-ish period of time to just like give your body a rest and a reboot is great, and then you can like implement some other things.
And at the same time, like in the past, when you had like those skin issues and you weren't feeling that good, like mentally, would you like now attribute that mostly to your diet? Because you were still doing ballet at the time. And like, I want to say, like, since you're like traveling, you had some of those other factors that one would might say, like, oh, it's not negative what you're doing, but maybe, maybe it was. I don't know.
Yeah, I attribute it a bit to the parasites. I've been doing a lot more research on them most recently, and weirdly enough, they do have like a psychological effect on you, so they can actually cause like depression, anxiety, even like bipolar disorder. So I think it was a bit of that as well as just not around good people,
Mhm. Yeah. I mean,
to put it
definitely,
nicely.
definitely a huge aspect, I think, for me is just surrounding yourself with people that are like minded. And I think like we were able to connect over like Twitter, and that was like pretty quick where I just like send you a message and now we can hop on a call. And I don't know, it's just cool that like Twitter is a platform where if you're looking to like make some changes to your health specifically, I think is it's a good way. So I hope you can continue to like share that with other girls who may be like struggling with their weight or just what they how they feel about themselves. So I guess with that, how do you approach the whole meat thing as far as like some girls who like might be like opposed to eating red meat because it has a lot of fat or just like in general like I know for a while I avoided cooking with butter. I was using like the sprays, and I mean now we know like a lot of the seed oils are bad for you and stuff, but how were you able to do that? I guess like you kind of answered like you just went straight to carnivore, but for some girl who's growing up and is being told you need to like not being told, but they think the way that they're gonna be healthy is through lowering their calories, maybe eating like salads and stuff, less protein. How do you tell them, okay, like I want not I want, but you're better off if you eat this meat and like butter when it's like as a girl, it's kind of like stigmatized almost as like no, you're gonna get too big. So
Right. Yeah, or like it's not really feminine or something. Yeah.
yeah.
At this point, for me personally, I don't really care. I've got
Mhm.
to that point where like so many things have happened to me where I'm like, I don't care. But I do understand because I used to be the weird person that had all the healthy food because my mom has always been into health, so I've kind of always been had a kind of paleo diet, I guess. So I was always a person with the weird food, and I was always really embarrassed to bring that around. So I do get it, but at the same time, so many people now, especially, have their dietary preferences, whether it's like you're vegetarian, pescatarian, vegan, or you eat certain types of whatever. So I don't think anymore it would be so weird. It definitely would be seen as the weirdest since it's just meat.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, for me personally, I think health is a lot more important than like the
what everyone
societal
else thinks.
expectations or whatever. Plus, also it's a bit of like confidence. At this point, I don't care. I'll go. Like I went out with some friends a while ago, and I just said, "Well, I'm just gonna eat the burger meat, and that's it." And they're like, "Okay." So I think if you just like don't expect that you're gonna be the weird person, and you just put that out, I guess it's not
Yeah.
quite as awkward or weird. It's not
Yeah.
quite as awkward or weird.
All right. We're back. We had some problems with the video, but
Technical difficulties.
yeah. So I was gonna ask, as far as I know, like there's a carnivore diet book by Sean Baker, but is there any books or podcasts you recommend on the carnivore diet in general, or just any content? I know I'll say one for myself, but there's like a YouTube video of like I think it's like 20 minutes of Jordan Peterson on the Joe Rogan, and he basically quickly outlines some of the stuff that um, has helped him as far as going carnivore, eliminating depression, better sleep, better mental clarity. And then also his daughter, I believe, Michaela Peterson, was able to reverse a lot of the conditions that she dealt with. But to get back to the question, did you have any content that people should consume to try to get them started on the carnivore path?
Yeah, well, obviously that episode was great.
Yeah.
In it though, I think he said that he's not recommending it to anyone. Probably
Because
it's like
he's
legally.
not like he's not a health person. So,
Yeah. But yeah, so his daughter Michaela Peterson has a podcast where she invites a lot of people about health, also just interesting people in general. Dr. Ken Berry is great. He does more of a proper human diet, so it's based more like off of your own personal preference, like what you can consume that works for you. So it's kind of like animal based diet, but if you still drink coffee to some extent, or if you want to have some fruits, or if there's a vegetable that actually isn't harmful to you, you include that. So him, also of course Sean Baker. Judy Cho also has a YouTube channel. She's the one that was doing the SIRS protocol. I like Dr. Berg. He's a bit more keto though. Um, what I've learned is also a good channel just for like a more scientific understanding of everything. And then, yeah, there's obviously a lot, but they're not really coming to mind right now.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, definitely like once you get on one, then other ones will kind of like
Yeah.
pop up and be like, oh, that might be cool too.
Yeah.
Do you think like the future is going to be more like animal based in general and just, I mean, there was like a time where I thought plant based was going to kind of gain some steam, but it seems like from my perspective, eating meat is not only better for you mentally, but with the potential for like more regenerative, smaller farms and getting people meat that's better for the environment as well as more nutritionally, um, holding more nutrients in the food. Do you think like that's going to be the future, just more meat in general?
I hope so.
Yeah, I think
And
like
yeah.
I think just spreading the word and then letting people know like how good you feel and like how much it's changed you is one way.
Yeah, it does seem like it, but it could also just be the internet that I'm accessing or that I see. It does seem like there are less or there's a lot more vegans switching to just eating meat again. Maybe not necessarily carnivore, but at least having meat again. So possibly, however, there's still a lot of our generation which still thinks like vegan, that way of going is better, and also like lab grown food
Hmm.
to save the planet because we're killing it is going to be safer. But yeah, it does seem moving in the positive direction, but that could just be from where I'm seeing it from.
Yeah, I always find that too, where it's like I'm on this smaller portion of the internet, and there's probably a lot of other people who don't consume any health content. So that's why I wanted to like share what I've felt and how it's like impacted my life. So as far as health, once you were able to get that in line, do you find that like at least for me, like I've once I've been able to get to a place health wise that I feel more confident and just feel better, it's been a catalyst for me to like turn to like reading more. Whereas in the past, I would scroll on my Instagram, look at what other people are doing, um, not really even post anything myself, and then also just like passive YouTube or Netflix and that kind of thing versus trying to either make content or like if I'm consuming something, it's something that is going to be beneficial to my health. So have you experienced that same kind of progression where once you were able to improve your health, you started to realize there was other aspects of your life that might need some improvement?
Yeah, definitely. At first, yeah, with the whole weight loss thing, I think once you lose a certain amount and you feel good about yourself and you're looking better, automatically you want to start working out more to look even better. So then that's
Mhm.
kind of motivating. Plus, then you start to expand that into like, okay, so what else can I improve? So yeah, that kind of cut off the whole like, I used to also just sit up in bed because I couldn't sleep and watch TikTok or anything else. And I rarely use it now. If anything, I just go on there to post. I don't really see what else is happening on there.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's definitely changed that as well as yeah, confidence went up a lot because it was really low. So yeah, that's improved.
Yeah. Do you have any friends that you like interact with like in person that are following like a similar diet to you?
Well, I have one friend here now, and I've
Oh,
convinced.
sorry, we didn't really clarify the fact that you've like been moving around a lot,
Yeah,
like where you are now. So if you want to briefly touch on
yeah. I just moved to Texas. I think it's around 2-ish months ago, maybe not quite, but yeah. So around 2 months ago, I moved here, and most of the people I've met are animal based, which is really cool. Anyway, so that's that. But I did convince kind of one of my friends to eventually she wants to go carnivore,
that. Mhm.
but she needs to just like I guess like learn more about it and have like a set plan first. So yeah,
Yeah,
so that's really cool.
yeah. I feel like a lot of the people I've hung around just hadn't like done the similar diet that I was doing, and it felt like kind of weird because
Yeah,
it's like even like I think probably 2 or 3 years ago, I was living in a house with like 10 to 20 other dudes, and in a fraternity house, and I happened to be consuming a lot of like the paleo diet content from like Mark Sisson. And I don't know, it would just be like making like a salad with like steak and like, I don't know, lathering it up in olive oil and stuff. And like the person next to me is just eating like noodles or something. And I'm
yeah.
not like saying that's bad or like everyone has the decisions, has the right to make their own decision. But definitely being around other people, I think, that are doing the similar behaviors that are important to them is like crucial and like as far as like being able to sustain it, I think. So how have you been able to do that? Just through like your mom already like being health conscious or yeah.
Well, now it's more just like I don't really want to go back, or just it's been more sustainable just because for one, I've been able to heal a lot of things and help a lot of things. So I that's like my reason not to
It's
really
almost like medicine now for you.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of been what's sustaining me on it.
Yeah. Did you ever consider or like go on any like pills or like antidepressants or any stuff like that?
No. No,
Yeah.
I've never really gone to conventional doctors just because in the past we've never had any
Mhm.
good experience with them. So luckily, no.
Well, it's good that you were able to like avoid that and kind of find this own path for you. And do you think like uh, as far as just like everyone has their own like kind of thing that they're dealing with, do you feel like it was kind of like fate that you would like end up with this diet or I don't know, just sharing in general? Because like now you're like the carnivore ballerina or whatever, and it's like that's like not what you expect from a like someone who does ballet. Like, oh, I'm gonna go eat some meat. So do you kind of feel like this is like your thing and like it was kind of meant to be?
I guess so to some extent. Like now I am really grateful for like having dealt with all of those things to like a ridiculous amount of stuff just so that now I can say, yeah, I've been able to live through all that plus training ballet, plus now I'm doing ballet and eating meat, which is just really niche and really weird.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think to some extent I guess it was fated. I don't know.
Yeah. And like for the future, what is your plans to just keep sharing the content pretty much and like letting people know like this is the way?
Yeah, this is the way of me. I guess so. It's more so I kind of just want to be because I've so there's a lot of doctors and people, or like not necessarily doctors, but people who are carnivore or animal based that are pretty big, but I don't really feel like I have like a friendly connection. So since I'm a bit of a goofy person, I want to be that like friend through the screen that I would have liked to have
Yeah.
or have had when I was in a bad place where it is real and I would obviously have to share a bit of personal stuff, like going through all these horrible things. But at least I know that to some extent I could be like a friend to someone. Because at the time that I was dealing with all these things, since I was traveling so much, I didn't have friends, I didn't have family support, my mom, but that was about it. So kind of want to be like the hopefully motivating person somehow.
A figure that people can look to and like
Yeah, but like
those
can
things.
not be like she's some person up there that, I'd never reach her level. I want to be like friendly, like you can message me if you
Yeah.
feel down or something like that.
I think with Twitter, that's one aspect where like it has the DMs and like it seems
Yeah.
like people are a lot more open to like sending and like receiving on there versus some of the other platforms. It seems like people are more like cut off or just not able to get to the access point as Twitter for sure. So I think
Mhm.
that's good that you're sharing on there. And then also just the ability to have like outreach, like within a few weeks, you've already been able to gain like a good following. And as you just continue to do that, you can only reach more people. So I think like what you're doing is great.
Yeah, thanks.
I guess we can go into, I don't know, just maybe like the metaphysical thing that you were describing as far as um, why you had certain problems, I guess, and maybe if some other people are dealing with certain problems that are similar, like how they can address them. So I don't know. I don't know. We already kind of went in the whole meat thing, but
Yeah. Okay. Well, so I can like briefly, I guess, kind of explain what metaphysical health is. I'm not an expert on it. Obviously, this is just like based off of my quick research. But it's kind of like where you associate some spiritual or emotional meaning or like some memory or traumatic experience that you've had with a health condition. So, for example, if you have pain in your ankle, that could be associated with you're scared of moving forward in life. So,
mm,
whatever it is that you want to do, let's say in your career, you're scared of whatever it is that can manifest in your physical being as pain in your hip, even your foot. Or if you're not in a good situation, it could be relationship or work, whatever, and you hate what you're seeing around you, that could manifest as an eye issue because that's what you're seeing. So that can be a sty. So that's kind of what it is. And so for me, with the skin issues, that can be related to some the like metaphysical thingy behind it is just the saying or whatever was get out of my face. So someone who's like looming over you and you just want them to like get away because it's just so imposing upon you. So then that can manifest as some skin issue of any kind on your face, as well as then parasites. Parasite would just literally be a parasite. So in my case, it was a person who is like sucking the life force out of you just because of how toxic they are. So that can manifest physically as a parasite in you, which is what I ended up having. So then that's kind of what metaphysical health
mm,
is.
yeah, I think that's good for people to get the gist of it and just know like maybe they might be experiencing some pain or negative emotions, but there's some underlying root cause behind it. And it's not just going to be fixed with, like, I don't know, a quick
Medication.
thing, but it's more so like the holistic approach to your health in general, as far as like mental health, physical health, what you're putting into your body, what you're are you getting in nature, and those kind of things. And I know there's the book The Body Keeps Score that I like started reading, which talks about a little bit of that, just the traumatic experience that we have like as children and stuff. And traumatic doesn't have to be a horrible accident. It could be something someone said to you and it just keeps like coming back to you and like resonating. And it might be making you do certain things that you're not even like consciously aware of
Right.
or even thinking about, but it's impacting the way that you're feeling. So I think being aware of that aspect might be a way to like heal. So
Yeah, like it could just even be like some small thing that maybe you misinterpreted, then that could be dragged out and then cause like some form of trauma to you. It doesn't have to be like some physical abuse or like psychological abuse of any form. It's just like something that maybe you even misinterpreted
mhm.
or whatever because you were younger.
Yeah, I think in general, people's health is way more vast than what we kind of think it is. And a lot of the advice about that I was intaking when I first started, like about health, was like, okay, you need to do this many steps. You need to get 6 sets of bench press in. And it's like your body is a lot more complex, also like intelligent. And we all have the ability, like within, to be healthy and to feel really good. And the only reason we don't is because we're getting mixed up in general. And it's, I think, like sad for a lot of people because they don't have something to live for, or not saying like they're suicidal at all, but they just don't, they have like a little bit of like despair about life in general. And I think it's due to the negative health um, that they've been like either just doing in their life just because that's the way they've been brought up, or um, the content they're consuming might be negative, or the stuff that they're doing just isn't working. So I just think the fact that you can um, make yourself aware of that through trying to consume better content and then also just like putting that into practice. I like to think of it as like an experiment on yourself. Like you're the same person now that you were. Not saying you're the same person, but your physical body can change and you can change too, like with that. So
By
I
getting
think
into
you're
like, yeah.
I think like you're just a great example of that with like your skin, and then also um, that kind of impacts all parts of your life. I think. But,
Yeah,
yeah.
like that would, yeah, that caused like a lot of, I guess, low self esteem as well as depression, despite how like small of a thing it is compared
Mhm.
to like the grand scheme of things. But then if you just eliminate that one thing, kind of fix your life after that, it can change, or it can be a huge impact on your life.
Do you have any like tactics for like minimizing stress in general?
Uh, good question.
Mhm.
Well, I've kind of got to the point. So the most stressful situations most recently has just been relationships with people. So at this point, I'm just like, well, that's their point of view and it has nothing to do with me. So then I kind of just distance myself from that, just thinking in that mindset. Or I used to get really stressed and frustrated about the ballet training because I was later in starting and slow at learning. So it got to a point where I was just like, it's not happening today. And if I force it, it'll just get worse. So I'll just let go and leave it for tomorrow. And I kind of sound like a yogi or something that's like a
Yeah,
bit annoying to hear, but it worked.
definitely like trying to just be like present and not worry about what happened that was bad or the
Right.
future, just worrying about that. in general, just being, because if you think about it, there's not necessarily a problem right now that you have to solve. Like if you're breathing, you're probably you're doing all right.
Yeah.
You got enough. So I think from that perspective, just realizing that if you are like here and breathing, you have the ability to change and get a better life. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any other stuff we should go into. Do you have any ideas of stuff you might be able to, um, any expertise or
Oh
anything?
gosh, I don't want to like say anything that isn't. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know.
I guess in general, as a girl, do you think it's good to have like an extra exercise routine or some sort of thing that you like? Because I know some girls might not just like have a physical outlet that they get into. So
Yeah, okay, so for that, I for girls more so than boys, I think going to the gym really depends on your own personality. For me, sometimes I found it a bit boring just because I got so used to ballet training, so there's like a lot of thought process going behind it, so you're constantly thinking of all these different things, so then you're very entertained. Whereas if I just went and lifted a weight after going to ballet, I would just find that so boring after having all of that like mental stimulation. So for me, and I think for some girls and boys probably too, if you find something that is kind of entertaining at the same time, so like some sport or something,
Mhm.
in place of lifting weights or exercising in the gym, or
In
doing a
addition,
combination of the two is could be like more
yeah,
interesting, I guess.
definitely interesting. And then also just maybe something you can actually sustain because if you do something you don't like, it's just not really sustainable to go to the gym and like the whole holistic approach. You want to be doing something that is benefiting you as well, like mentally. Um, and I know for some time, like I would go to the gym and just go through the motions, but kind of do it in like running too as a form of like almost punishment to myself as far as like, all right, you need to burn off these calories. And it's like if you can then shift to the mindset of like, I don't know, just like mindset shifts, but then also just like or the way you phrase it from like working out to like training for something or I don't know, just in general. It definitely gives it a more fun approach, and then also maybe you can stick to it longer if you're able to love what you're doing versus just doing it for the work or for the calorie burn.
Yeah, but like at the same time, having said that, you could also go to the gym like once a week just to get really uncomfortable in like total silence, like not even listening to music, just to force yourself to be alone with your thoughts, lifting a weight. It's
Yeah,
also like a good thing to do, I think.
yeah. I mean, it's good to definitely have balance, but then also do stuff that's uncomfortable. So it's
Right.
like even though like I'm kind of harping on doing something you love, if you're not challenging yourself too, it's like the balance of like wanting to do something that you love, but then also wanting to challenge yourself. And I kind of had that realization just a few days ago because right now, the way I can structure my days, I'm not, I just like graduated from school, so I don't necessarily have to do anything. So I actually was planning one day and I was like, all right, the next day I'm going to write down 5 things that I want to do. And then that would like make it a good day, you know? And a lot of the activities I did, I went through the whole day and then I was like, I don't know, like it just didn't seem like a good day. And I think part of it is if you're not doing something that's somewhat challenging to you, then it just doesn't feel fulfilling. Like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like you did anything or accomplished anything if you're not like challenging yourself. So would you say for you, like ballet is the way you do that?
Yeah, it is. No matter how many times I do it, no matter how long I've trained in it, it's always a challenge every single time. So each time at the end of it, I'm just happy I've got through like the main few first exercises, which are the most difficult to me and challenging. So it's kind of like a reward after. So yeah, like you said, even if you have like 5 things that would make your perfect day, if there's no challenge where you feel like a reward after for having done it, then it's not really like fulfilling.
Mhm. I guess we could end it up on that note, on a positive note of
Positive.
on the positive idea that we should do stuff we love, but then also challenge ourselves on a daily basis to
Yeah.
try to get better. So thank you for coming on, Olivia. Enjoyed talking with you, and I hope you continue to share your story and scale it into some sort of business that you can do for yourself. So
I hope so, yeah.
yeah. All right. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.